Now, our guest today is one of the country's top speakers, known for his sharp business insights and his unique way of inspiring audiences from corporate leaders to students. Now, what's the secret behind his business of inspiration? Let's find out from the most professional-looking guy on the show here today, Mr. Francis Kong. It's a beautiful day, Sir Francis.
Thank you. Beautiful day to all of you. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much for coming on. First off, it's great to have you here. We love the outfit. I love the coat in particular. And of course, when we talk about the business of inspiration, I want to understand the origin story of you in this type of business, in this line of work, because not a lot of people get into it. There are a lot of charismatic people, but not a lot of people who can communicate the way you do.
Well, you know what? They say that charisma is just a few words away from charlatan, right?
Yeah.
So if you ask people who have been heavily affected, influenced by leaders in the past, you will notice one common denominator among all of them. They were inspired. So they have very good leaders who would influence them to become better, right? So I had my own fair share of leaders who were the opposite spectrum of being inspiring. And I've had people who would inspire me. And when I say leaders, I don't just mean business leaders. I would refer to college professors who would just maybe look at you and say, hey, you're better than who you are, and you've got what it takes to become better. So all throughout my life, I realized that there's just a lot of skepticism and criticism all over the place, but there's a serious lack for inspiration. And that's what people need today, right? So I said, hey, this is not a business venture for me, but this becomes a life mission that I'd like to do, because I'm on the receiving end of that. I want to give it away this time.
Francis, was there any defining moment in your life that, pushed you towards personal development and leadership training into the business of inspiration?
Oh, okay. I've always been in business. I still am in business. I'm involved with retail and manufacturing as well currently. Sit on the board of a couple of companies. And when I made a name in manufacturing during the boom of an industry called RTW. Right? So I was fascinated with that. But it created a name for me in the industry. But what people don't know, I started researching on that industry, and I work as a visual merchandiser, which is a politically correct way of saying you're changing clothes in mannequins. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, show windows. So, and then my goal was to be in sales. So I worked really hard. I thought, never attended any seminars. Nobody would invest in me. So the only way that can get me through is to keep on reading and learning and knowing and understanding and investing a lot. Even with my very minuscule of a salary, I invested in it. So my next goal is to be a salesperson. When that job was offered to me, because I was then ready, what I noticed was that it's so difficult to be in sales. Have you guys ever been in sales?
Yeah.
Yeah, you have,
I'm
right?
only in sales.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
So don't cry if I bring the story. So I was bringing my samples over to the store and presenting this to the merchandise to buyers. And I was noticing the way certain people can be rude. They can look down on salespeople. They were kind of offensive to a sense. And I said, there's got to be a better way to do this rather than just to be accepting the treatment. And the only way is to earn their respect. Now, how do you do that?
Right.
So I said, I'm going to make this buyer successful. While others are cursing them behind their back, I said, the only way I can get their respect is to make them successful.
Yeah.
So next time I bring my samples along with me, I will make sure that I'm going to bring them, hey, you guys know this is the forthcoming trend, the color psychology behind. So I applied what I learned, and I have to bring out proof, magazine clippings, just in case they say, are you sure?
Yeah.
And then that way, the buyers will get value, not only from the samples, and they'll present it to their bosses.
Okay.
So when they present to their boss, they're probably thinking, my boss will now think I'm really smart and intelligent because I have this additional information. I never knew that was the building block that got me to where I am right now. So I'm not a speaker. I'm actually an educator. I'm not a motivational speaker, and honestly, I don't like that term.
Okay.
I probably look at myself as somebody who imparts ideas that can help you become better.
So parang
Yeah.
coach.
Right.
And that's interesting that you say that. And you also mentioned earlier you continue to learn, and you're a fan of continuous learning. Do you have any books, practices, or habits that help you, or that you can also impart on us, your viewers, as well?
Well, tell me what particular line of interest do you have? I mean, you want to talk about public speaking? The best book I've recently encountered is a book entitled Speak Like a Leader. You want to talk about business strategy? The rock star of marketing, Seth Godin, wrote his latest book entitled This is Strategy. I'm going to be in New York on November interviewing him, by the way.
Wow.
You want to talk about Adam Grant? His Think Again is one of the best books. He's a psychologist, organizational psychologist, a top consultant now in Silicon Valley. You want to talk about emotional intelligence? I'm going to be interviewing both Adam Grant and Brené Brown this November in New York. And Brené Brown's Atlas of the Heart is, I mean, she hits it very well. So it depends on your field of interest, and you tell me, and I will recommend some books for you. Right.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot there. I think we can go through the list later on. But then I want to go back and track back to something that you mentioned a while ago. You said when you got into sales, you weren't really ready.
Right.
And I don't think a lot of people put things off because they quote unquote aren't ready. How do you get comfortable not being ready when you try and pursue something you want to do?
Well, my short answer is swimming. You're never ready, and you can never learn swimming unless you go to the deep end of the pool. When you're just, wading in the shallow waters, you'll never learn. But you have a misconception like you're ready. But that's your bar, right? So you got to get into it. You got to face the challenges that ordinary people face. In fact, the biggest fear of most people in sales is the fear of rejection.
Yeah.
Yes.
But that's a wrong concept. Whenever I give seminars to salespeople, I would say, how many of you have been rejected? 99% of the time, all the hands were raised up. And I say, you're wrong. You've never been rejected. Because only the people who are closest to you in your life have the power to reject you. Your clients or potential clients are not your closest people. Therefore, you were not rejected, you were merely refused. That kind of mindset gives you the tenacity to go back again and say, well, maybe, my client woke up on the wrong side of the bed, the budget wasn't ready, I'm going to go back again. So that mind frame thing is extremely huge in terms of achieving success in life.
Yeah, Sir Francis, I just want to, you mentioned swimming, jumping into the deep end, and you mentioned talking to salespeople, but you don't just talk to salespeople. You talk to so many others, people in power. So how do you tell high-powered CEOs or high-powered executives how to swim when they felt that they've been doing that for a very long time?
That's a very good question. And by the way, here's a trade secret of speakers. Whenever speakers say, that's a great question, he doesn't have the answer yet, right? So what you can do is, with high-powered people, they are so acclimatized and they're so familiar with control.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And I will say, hey guys, times have changed. The industrial civilization era of control, command and control, has given way now to a general democratized knowledge base of people who value a lot more empathy than control. You're not dealing with machines, you're dealing with humans. Maybe that would explain the reason why attrition is very high for leaders who don't inspire their people, but who still want to control them. And by the way, a proclivity towards command and control is a sign of insecurity as well.
Okay. Francis, as Paolo have mentioned, you've spoken with so many people, different kind of people, people in sales, people in power, entrepreneurs as well. How do you adapt your message to connect with different audiences, whether they're corporate leaders, employees, or even students?
Well, one of the key secrets of effective communicators is you got to read the room. You don't start blabbing your mouth. You got to understand who are these audiences, and a little bit of a research will help you a lot. like I did a lot of research on you guys before I came here, right? So I know your
wow.
darkest, deepest secrets. But
I'm intrigued.
Kasi grabe to mag-TikTok eh. That's the reason why you're
I'm sure you spent more hours on Anne than Paolo and I.
Yeah, so students naman, what are the common struggles of students? I mean, apart from maintaining their grades and everything else, and it's peer pressure. You understand that they have not had the privilege of attending seminars given by decent people who would teach them the right things. So where are they going to get their thoughts from? TikTok,
Right.
YouTube, right? And we have a lot of feigned expertise or fake gurus. And so I have to change that mindset. And yet, you have to speak in the lingo that they will understand, relevant. Now, I've got good news for you. The Gen Z right now are extremely intelligent. All they need is a connection that makes sense. And the Gen Z people now hate fake. They want authenticity, they want rawness and everything else. So I'll talk to the way that they can understand. I don't speak above them. I'll reach them where they are.
Yeah, no, that's an interesting point actually. But now I'm curious, has there been a speaking engagement that resonated the most with you and why?
This
obviously.
This one.
This one,
apart
yeah.
from this one, you mean, before we do our song and dance number.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Well, I think the one that really made a lot of fulfillment, gave me a lot of fulfillment was in United Nations when I spoke to about, 450 university scholars from all over the world. How do you address a group of defined of different colors and creeds and culture, and how do you present a message that will resonate with them? And during the Q&A, the proof of the pudding is always during the Q&A. You can have a brilliant presentation, but when somebody asks you a question that clobbers you, you're done, right? So you can imagine the height of my nervousness at that time. And there were questions that were really provocative, a little bit of a wokeness thing and everything else. But that was really challenging. But at the end of the day, when you do a good job, you go home, you still think about it, and you feel fulfilled. So that's one of those. Speaking to these brilliant minds and scholars from different universities comprising of different creed and races and nationalities, that was the one I won't forget.
Oh my goodness, that sounds amazing. I like that you admitted that you were nervous.
Oh yeah.
Because a lot of people, especially when you have the line of work that you do or do what you do, people typically assume that sanay na to.
Right.
Yeah.
He's not
they
that he's
won't
used to
admit
doing
Yes.
things. But then I personally think being nervous is a good sign.
Yeah.
Whenever you go to work, when people approach you and ask you about how you handle their nerves or what type of advice you give when they're nervous, so what do you normally say?
The usual question I have is, with the volume of talks you've been giving, I average about 300 in a year, by the way.
Wow, congratulations.
Crazy.
Thank
so
you.
you only rest for 65 days a year.
Yeah. That's not resting.
Yeah, when I'm resting, I'm reading and I'm learning too. And so when people ask me, are you still nervous? I said, yes, I'm nervous when I'm not nervous.
Exactly.
Because if I'm not nervous, that means I'm going to wing it and I'm
Right.
shortchanging my clients, right?
Right.
So a little bit of nervousness keeps you on your toes. And so you're going to be, your mind begins to be sharpened and witty. Like right now, I'm trembling with nervousness. No, just kidding.
You don't look it though.
He's not. He got this. He got this. He has this. No, but we also have to look at. You mentioned you wear many hats. You still do business.
Right.
You're an inspirational speaker. You're a mentor to some as well. And I can only imagine the balancing act that you need to do. At least a generation ago, it felt like the buzzword was work-life balance.
Yeah.
I know now it's about that and now being genuine. You mentioned that with
Right.
the Gen Z.
Right.
So how
Right.
do you manage all of that personally? Because it's so easy to get out of touch sometimes.
Right. Well, the short answer to that is I don't. I don't manage it. Before the pandemic happened, companies and clients are shying away from the term work-life balance.
Yeah.
because they understand it doesn't really work. That's why I refuse invitations for me to give seminars on work-life balance. 2 reasons. Number 1, I don't believe in it. Number 2, I don't have it. So if you talk about balance, what's the literal description? It's equilibrium, right? And so you have your left leg planted, your right leg planted, body weight equally distributed. You have balance. I only have one problem. You don't have movement, right? And so I still believe in inspiring excellence. When I do something, I give 100%. When I'm with my family, I give 100%. And so what I do is, what is important for me is to achieve work-life harmony. And then the magic word instead of balance is trade-off. There will always be trade-off.
Yeah.
But when I'm with my family, in fact, my boss, my employer, my youngest daughter is with us right now, Rachel.
Yes.
Hi,
And
Rachel.
so I'm with them all the time. But the trade-off is I don't have much social life, right? So I don't go to gimmicks and everything else because I'd rather spend time with my wife of 4 to 5 years. Marriage, by
Congratulations
the way.
on that,
Thank
yeah.
you. You haven't heard the story yet. 45 years of wedding and 9 years of being engaged to each other.
my God.
My high school
Wow.
sweetheart, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a nice story.
Yeah, so, I love being to be with my family all the time. And now I have my apo. So that's kind of important for me. Yeah, trade-off lang, trade-off. Yeah.
Now, Sir Francis, we're running out of time. We'd love to have you actually for the whole show. I love listening to you, but I just
Thank
want to
you.
ask, looking ahead, what kind of impact do you still hope to make, and what kind of legacy do you want to leave behind?
Well, this is gonna sound corny, and you're gonna hate me for this, but I never focus on leaving a legacy behind. Why? I think I'm a little bit philosophical. Legacy is something that other people accord to you. What I'm concerned with is the moment. How can I be the best of myself right now so I can give value to the people whom I'm addressing? And then what is important for me, legacy is like you want to do something that you lived in the past. I am looking forward to I'm hopeful and I'm optimistic, and how can I build a better future, not only for me, but for the people that God has given me the opportunity to address, right? So legacy, it's up to them. And actually the truth is, no matter how famous you are, you will be forgotten.
That's true.
So people's sense of immortality is to leave their names on buildings. And I understand that. But actually, I think I'm more concerned with what I can do now and what I can do better in the future.
Wow, that's a great perspective.
I
I never thought of it that way.
Kaya na-inspire ka ba?
Yeah, of course. I mean, this whole interview, I'm like, I don't know what to say.
Yeah, it's so inspiring.
To whom should I address the bill?
Paulo,
To Paulo.
he
All
spoke
right.
the most.
Yeah. You can address the bill to me, but I'll
Send
forward it to
invoice.
them, so don't worry. All right, thank you so much for joining
You're
us, Sir
welcome.
Francis.
Thank you for
Really
having
appreciate
me.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.